It's because this is the 7th anniversary of the death of Prince. How many people have stopped you and said, "Hey, why aren't you wearing purple, Emil?" Well, I'm not wearing purple, but I got purple in the background here. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I got my monkish saffron on today because I felt monkey. I got my monkish saffron, and it's got a hood too. Wearing a hood when it's not quite that hot yet. Anyway, welcome to Emil Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. Joining me in moments, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez. He'll be here. We'll talk about the news, the GNUSs and the NEWSs, all the news that's fit to talk about. But I do want to talk about this thing. I mean, I'm preparing for the show. I get this email from a source, and I have long said at the beginning of the year that the Asian American story of the moment, as we went from 2022 to 2023, was one Thomas Keon, who was or is still the chancellor of Purdue University Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. He doesn't speak any Chinese or any Asian language, but he does speak it for laughs. Here's this white Caucasian chancellor at Purdue University Northwest, which is part of the Purdue University system over there in Hammond, Indiana. It's near Chicago, near a big urban area. So he speaks an Asian language when he does it for laughs, but he doesn't even tell good jokes. And it became the story of the moment when Thomas Keon, at the December 10th regional campus's commencement exercises, went into this gibberish mode where he used, an Asian language as a form of a joke, and he tried to cover. And the thing is, it was spread out all over the internet. I mean, if you go to my Aldef blog, and you can see the post, in fact, I should maybe share my screen, because if I share my screen, then, you'll see it. So if you go to the Aldef blog, there's Thomas Keon there, and it was ridiculous, how he tried to make fun of Asian Americans, and it was just a joke, right? And that was in December. He got all sorts of flack from the faculty, all sorts of flack from the Asian American community. Did anything happen? No, nothing happened. What's worse is that an Asian American became the president of Purdue as of January. I believe it was like sometime at the first week of January. And did the Asian American president of the entire university, did he make mention of this? Did he bring Thomas Keon, did he bring him up on the carpet, and did he, punish the chancellor of Purdue University Northwest? No, he didn't. And so that was in January. I said it was the big story, the big Asian American story of the moment, because it would show just how powerful or how unpowerful we are as a community, where we can't even bring these culprits, we can't reprimand them publicly. We can't show that they are accountable for their words, despite saying, "Oh, we're for diversity." And then here you have this guy at Purdue University Northwest, Thomas Keon, and you can go see the tape. Go to my Aldef blog, aaldef.org/blog, and then put down Thomas Keon, Keon, and you can see the tape. Go to YouTube; it's there. It's ridiculous. The evidence is out there, and it took forever, right, for anything to happen. Because what happened today? Thomas Keon has decided to step down, which is, I mean, decided to step down, but it's not for, the incident that happened on December 10th. He issued this memo to the Purdue University Northwest community. He said, "It's been my honor and privilege to serve as the chancellor of Purdue University Northwest these past 12 years. As you may know, the university system has a policy of limiting how long one can serve." I mean, he didn't say, "As you may know, I committed a racist act on December 10th. Didn't say that. He didn't say, "As you may know, Purdue University has a policy of limiting how long racists should serve as chancellors of Purdue University Northwest." No, he didn't say that. Should have. He didn't say that. He says, "For the last few years, I have known that my last day as chancellor will be June 30th, 2024. In this morning's Purdue Today, President Mung Chang, the Asian American who's now president of the whole shooting match, and the Board of Trustees announced that Trustee Malcolm DeKrieger will be chairing a search advisory committee for the next chancellor of Purdue Northwest, and more information will be forthcoming at the end of the academic year. This leadership transition is part of the evolution of Purdue Northwest, and these kinds of transitions have occurred over the last 75 years. I have appreciated and enjoyed serving Purdue Northwest, its students, faculty, staff, and community, and I will continue to do so for the next year and beyond." Oh, wait. I think he's leaving, right? Yeah, he's going to be leaving as chancellor June 30th, 2024, but he wants to teach. I don't even know if he should teach. Anyway, I just thought, if those of you who remember the things that I've written about Purdue University Northwest, well, this is the update. This is a big fig leaf for Thomas Keon, who's the chancellor, who says, "I'm transitioning back to faculty." Of course, he doesn't mention the fact that the faculty has given him a vote of no confidence as of last December, that many people in the Purdue University or Purdue Northwest faculty and staff have asked for his resignation. And now he says, "Well, I'm just going to go back now to be faculty." I'm not sure. We're going to have to see how what the faculty thinks of that. Maybe he should just go. Maybe he should just retire. I mean, you recall that Purdue University Northwest made a big deal about, this was a big deal in the news, that the university didn't act, number one, on the recommendations of the faculty, the legislative or the governing faculties, board, and that the new Asian American president did nothing. But we'll see what happens. A lot of people coming back to the campus next week. We'll see what the reaction is there. And now I bring up we happen to have a faculty expert who has been a member of faculty of the San Francisco State University College of Ethnic Studies, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, Professor Emeritus. But now, Dan, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about other things, but
good afternoon, and thanks for having me once again.
Yeah, and so on this Purdue University Northwest thing, as a faculty, you know how faculty politics goes. What do
you? Yes, indeed.
Is this big fig leaf for the racist chancellor, or is this enough, or should there be something more?
Yeah. First of all, it's a fig leaf. and that's enough. I mean, the guy's resigning and early, a year early, I guess, and that's enough as far as I'm concerned. It's enough. You got to see all these things in
Mm,
context, okay? And I think you raise, or at least you mentioned something that I believe to be a bigger issue, and that is when the new incoming president came in. Why did he say nothing? I mean, not only did he not do anything, he didn't say
yeah,
anything. Okay, it was the faculty and the members of their board, that said that the new guy Chang is an inspiration,
yeah.
right? And he'd been at Purdue for about 5 years, I guess, almost 5 years in engineering. So you got to put it in context, and the context is he had previously served the Trump
Right.
administration as a science and technology advisor. So if his selection as an advisor is reflective of the same kind of value scale that judges, justices, and other experts, right,
Mm,
are chosen by the Trump administration, then I wouldn't have expected him to say anything
yeah. But here's the thing.
or do anything.
I mean,
Yeah,
he exits. He gets to exit. Let's see. He said the racist remarks in December 10th.
which are relatively mild. I mean, it was mockery,
Yeah,
right? It
it
was,
was mockery, but no real accountability for
yeah,
what he said. I think he did apologize. He did apologize.
he
Yeah,
apologized. He did apologize.
but I know the apology was not taken well by the faculty members, the faculty senate, which voted no confidence and voted to ask for his resignation, and he just ignored them the whole time.
Yeah,
Which I don't know, that says to me that he's not taking accountability when he ignores the process, and you have faculty.
sure. The apology, in other words, the apology was
Yeah,
ministerial. Okay, not quote sincere.
yeah.
And by with sincerity, what we mean is, as you put it, a conscious level of understanding of the harm, as well as an appropriate and true act of accountability.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
that's where we're at. But it's Indiana,
Yeah,
dude.
well, okay, that's true. It's all based on where you are, red state, blue
That's right.
state. But now we have some people saying, "Look, is it enough that he steps down from chancellor, and because he's talking about transitioning to faculty, should
Yeah.
he be even allowed that?"
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That happens all the time. I mean, we've had some real jerks
Okay,
do
all right.
things, in my opinion, that were worse than what he did.
Okay, I'm going to try to be more forgiving. I'm going to say this: what Chancellor Thomas Keon at Purdue Northwest did probably was not on the level of Catholic priest, so that now they're hiding him around on the faculty.
Ouch!
Not on that
Ouch!
level. It's not. I'm gonna try to be forgiving. I'm gonna try to be forgiving. But
It's spoken as an unaltered
I know
boy. That's what I call.
I'm just look. I was not prepared to really to talk about this because but I have seen people tweet, it's been 100 days. It's been, how long before something happens or something is said finally. And what's sad is Keon comes out and says, look, I've known for the last few years, my last day is going to be June 30th, 2024. So I'm ready to step down June 30th, 2024 from this position, and I'm transitioning into faculty. He's still what between now April. Oh, he's going another year, right?
Well, yeah, but the question is, does he have full pay
Yeah.
when he steps back down to to the
Oh,
faculty? Because that's what a lot of people get. It's sort of a golden parachute.
uh,
You get to retain your highest level of pay,
yeah.
so he can return to the faculty and do classroom instruction and maybe a little research and publication, but he's going to get chancellor
So
pay.
it's still, this is really golden parachute, and I
Yeah,
misread this. He's stepping down June. His last day is June 30th, 2024, we're still
Yeah,
20.
next
Yeah,
year.
it's next year. So he's still going to be around. I don't know. Like if I were part of this campus, part of the faculty, I don't know if that's enough.
Okay.
I just, I
Okay.
mean, he's got another, he's going to be the face of the university for another year. They're going to give now where Purdue can make up for this is Purdue can say, all right, we're going to hire uh, an African American, a Latinx,
That would be that. That would be seen as political.
well, you're not going to put another white guy, are you?
Man, it's Indiana, dude.
Okay. Well, like you got it. You already have an Asian
It's
American president.
Indiana. I mean, look at the former governor of Indiana and now former vice president and potentially a candidate
Mhm.
for the Republican nomination is whiter than mayo.
Yeah.
I mean, mayo on white bread.
All right. All right. But still, look, you got one do nothing Asian American who's already president of Purdue. He can partner with a do nothing African American or a do nothing Latinx, administrator. It could
Yeah,
be a paired thing.
yeah.
So I just think that all right, I was more hopeful about this and I was forgiving about 5 minutes ago. Now I'm mad again. Yeah.
You shouldn't get upset about any of this stuff,
All
man.
right, you're right because I'm in
You know,
California. I should be upset.
no, it's not just that. It's understanding the reality and accepting the reality of American society.
Ah, the
You know,
reality. This is our country.
I mean, this is a there is a possibility for change. Okay, but that is going to come from a combination of faculty and student action. It does. People in power don't give things up out of the
Oh,
goodness of their heart.
oh, we're
They
learning that.
have, yeah, they
Yeah.
have to be challenged. They have to be.
Or
It doesn't matter what the issue is.
yeah,
It can be about misogyny, it can be about racism, it can be about specific biases against sexuality and different versions or forms of sexuality. It can be any of that stuff that's hot right now because the media is paying attention to it, and some states are paying attention to it. But what's important is looking at what the majority of states in the United States are doing on all of those issues,
yeah,
including one of our upcoming
right.
topics, which is Brexit.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
it's true. Like you gotta you gotta look where you are and just be happy that where you are it's good. Like if you're in California or like here's another topic. They just banned conversion therapy in Minnesota, and
That's a big
it is
deal.
a big
That's a
deal.
big deal for
Yeah, a
Minnesota.
big deal in Minnesota, but and they're going to look at creating Minnesota to be a refuge state for those who seek, counseling on gender and other issues. So, I mean, Minnesota is like sticks out, and you just got to be happy that okay, better I'm in Minnesota than I'm in Montana or I'm in South Dakota or I'm in North Dakota. Uh,
Yeah, one of my favorite exercises is looking at what states are being left and what states they're leaving for.
yeah,
And some of the states in the Midwest were in the 90s, they were a refuge.
right,
They were a refuge from New York, a refuge from all of the high cost places, California and the West Coast, because taxes, right?
yeah. Or
And
sometimes they were escaping people of color, right?
well, that's always part of the mix, but people don't readily recognize
Yeah.
that. They flee class and race, those two together,
Mhm.
right? And they also flee in favor of their own interests, which include class and race.
Yeah.
The money's better, the taxes are lower, the cost of living is lower, right? And I want to be among people who ain't black or ain't brown or ain't other.
Right, 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 right. So, yeah. So the big news out of Minnesota again is that the Senate uh, voted to let's see where is that news story? State Senate okays the conversion therapy ban and abortion refuge bills. So they're moving in that direction of creating.
Right. They're moving in that direction. Let's see what the reaction is,
Yeah,
though, because there's going to be a conservative reaction from within the state, and it's probably going to determine what kind of people run under the Republican banner in 2024. It's going to be, we got to watch for all of the reactionary stuff
yeah,
that will come out of states taking those kinds of relatively liberal positions.
yeah. Now, as I'm looking through some of the news, here's something that is new. Uh, Actually, it broke late last night. The guy who tried to unseat Gavin Newsom, conservative Taco's Larry Elder, is now saying he's running for the Republican presidential nomination in 2024.
Okay, fine,
Yeah, Larry Elder.
fine.
He's only 70. He's got. This is something.
He isn't that elder.
He's not that elder. No, I know, but here's the thing. A lot of people, once they reach 65 or think that's it, I'm done. Larry Elder is 70, and
Right.
he still wants something to do, so he's going to run for president. And he announced it on Tucker Carlson tonight, which kind of surprised me. Um,
Well, he knows what the size of Tucker Carlson's audience is.
yeah, but
It's
but
in direct disproportion to the size of his genitalia.
yeah, but the thing is, uh, I guess there who are the Republican not uh, the Republican candidates now besides Trump. It's like Nikki Haley, Asian American, Vivek Ramaswamy, Asian American,
Sort of.
sort of, yeah. Asa Hutchinson, not Asian American, but three letters of his name are in Asia. AS.
Oh man, that's a
We're
stretch.
stretching here. Well,
But that's cool. That's cool.
he's not Asian. But,
Yeah, he orders Chinese every once in a while.
so anyway, but actually, that's a shock to me, Larry Elder. This is how you fail up. You lose in trying to replace Gavin Newsom, and they say, "Hey, that's all right. Forget the gubernatorial race in California. I'm going to be president. I want to be president. You can run forever."
So I want to somebody whose name you mentioned earlier when Jesse Jackson
Yeah.
ran in the
Mhm.
80s said to me as we were riding down an elevator, and he said, "What does Jesse Jackson really want?" And this is a Filipino American leader,
Uh-huh.
and I said, "I think he wants to be president." But the notion of a black man, I think any black man, right, wanting to be president was so ridiculous that people were thinking there's got to be another reason. I mean, he just wants to put his name out there. He just wants to be seen. He wants to get that PR. He wants to get media notice, right? And then, so why is he doing that then, right? But that's what they attributed to Jesse Jackson. Okay, so the same thing happened when the Reverend Al, when Sharpton was talking about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they do that every time. And they did it when Obama
Yeah.
said he was going to run. What does he really want?
Yeah. So, well, all right. So here, we're talking about the.
So I want to know if anybody's asking, what does Elder really want?
I think he just wants publicity. I think that's
Okay,
all he wants.
there you
That's all
go.
he wants.
There you go. Because it's extremely improbable that he'll make the nomination, right? So
Yeah.
that's it.
He needs something to do. In fact,
Yeah, but hey, these people got egos, right? And the first rule of who runs for anything
mm,
is you got to have enough ego, wrongfully or rightfully, to think that you can do the job.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You also got to be no. You also have to know you're going to take flack,
yeah,
right? And so, do I have to explain
yeah.
flack?
He's just a talk show host, right? And so he's.
Well, but that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, look who became president of the United
Oh
States. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
so they put him on the tube. People actually believe that stuff. right? Because it's a quote reality show. Come on, man. I mean, doesn't that kind of show you where the mean IQ of
Oh
America
yeah. Oh,
is?
it does. And the fact that Donald Trump is still the leading candidate for president, I mean, he's at least he's helped people see that Ron DeSantis.
We can afford to laugh now.
Yeah,
Okay, we can afford to laugh now because there ain't no way that dude's going to be president. So you go ahead.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
Please, please
Well,
run,
that's the thing.
run, Donald, run.
That's the thing. In the meantime, on the Democratic side, uh,
Yeah,
Joe Biden
it's
says
like
he's going to announce on Tuesday,
that's right next
and a
week.
lot
Yeah,
of people are saying, "Oh, really?" I mean, now the agists are coming out,
sure,
and
of
because that's the
course.
only issue that they have against Biden, and
Well, yeah,
yeah, and I
that, it's not the only issue, but it's the issue that's the easiest to point
well,
at.
but it's also look. You look at his record. His record shows that he deserves to be president again for another term. I mean, considering what he's done, which is a lot more than people should expect after the Trump years, and and yet we still have this ageist cloud that is that's it's over him that people who should know better are they're still they're looking around, right? They're looking around for alternatives, and there are no
Well,
alternatives.
the only legitimacy in the age argument, there's two forms of legitimacy to that argument. One, right, is that if age means mental and or physical
Mhm.
infirmity, it's a concern. That's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
Okay. But if age also means we just want younger people in there because we think there could be people that are stronger or more progressive or more centrist, whatever the criticism is of Biden,
Mm.
right? That those are the other driving
Yeah.
motivations. They just use age as the
Yeah,
fulcrum.
but it's not enough to say that the latter.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
ageist. That's trying
Exactly.
to put a nice spin on
Yeah.
ageism.
So do they want to come out with a stronger criticism? And the parallel is what Rokana did with regard to Feinstein.
Right. Well, well,
That was sloppy as
he was
hell. I
still
mean,
ageist. I mean, I don't.
it was sloppy and
Yeah.
transparent. No, but he's heavily behind Lee,
Right.
right?
Barbara
So
Lee. Yeah. Who is,
yeah,
uh, you know, I actually, as a candidate, I like Barbara,
yeah, me
but
too. She was the only person, man, like Desert
yeah,
Storm and stuff like
but I,
that. Man, she was solo,
but I think,
anti.
but I think this exposes our, the ageism that exists, and we got to fight it as long as we can. As long as we can stand up on our canes, we should fight it. I think.
Oh God, don't do that. I got neighbors, man, that suddenly are showing up in walkers
Yeah,
and
I
shit.
know.
Man,
You got to. I'm sensitive to this. I thought
well,
ageism.
the scary part is I'm older than they are. That's the
Oh yeah,
scary part.
look, I thought that ageism would bring us together. We would see that how wrong that was, and how it puts us all in the same boat. It's not a matter of race or ethnicity, but instead, it's being used by progressives like Rokana, who's
Yeah,
an Asian American.
bad
Yeah,
move.
bad move,
Bad
bad
move.
move. All right, so let's move on to the big news of today, which is we're waiting for the Supreme Court to rule on mifepristone, which the lower court or a judge, right, said, "Hey, we're going to ban it," and he may not have had standing. He may not have had, it may be a terrible ruling. Supreme Court is going to rule on whether he's right or what's going to happen. What they have until midnight. Their options are to affirm the lower court, right? Or they could
Negate,
hate
negate.
it.
Uh, the appellate level,
Yeah.
and the appellate level actually it was a compromise position. I mean, it did not entirely negate the district court's decision,
So yeah.
right? Because it backed off to I think a 7 week ban.
Mhm.
When the 7 week kicks in, but that's just as bad as a 6 week. I mean, even at the 15th week, a lot of women don't know they're pregnant,
Yeah.
right? So I remember a lot of women being kind of surprised by the moment, especially it was their first pregnancy.
Yeah. Well, what
You
do you
know,
think? All right, so the Supreme Court can either affirm the lower court, they can stay it and say, look, and allow women to have uh, access to mifepristone, or they could do nothing. Right? When the effect of doing nothing is to really just affirm the lower court, right?
that's right. That's right.
And so,
Uh, yeah, yeah. So two, in my opinion, two out of the three possibilities, with the third possibility being saying no, it's completely legal, that the science was ignored by the district level,
yeah,
right? That would be the improbable decision. And so, affirmation of the middle court, the appeals court, is the greatest probability, in my opinion. They could go for a fourth position, and that's just to declare their own position. And I think there's at least three justices who would be willing to go that far.
to affirm, meaning
They
their
would no, I'm not affirm anything. They would come up with their own position.
own, which would be essentially anti-abortion.
Yes, exactly.
And it would be probably, it could be even far more reaching
Yes,
than,
yes. What I would see is that they go after mifepristone, and don't forget, there's a companion drug, right? Everybody's all looking at this one drug, and the reality is that misoprostol,
oh yeah, right.
misoprostol is also necessary if you're going to do this in the safest fashion, right?
Right.
They got
That,
the follow up treatment,
I think that's the one that they use in California, right?
right? Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
so
Go ahead.
yeah, well, so they could, they could, this is before the Supreme Court. They can like make their decision on abortion right here with this decision.
Exactly. They could take their own position, and they could say that the science was incomplete. And in that regard, we agree with the district court position, and they could say we think there needs to be more analysis, and greater substance and depth, right, to the testing of these drugs. Now, and then they could say that this decision is limited to these two drugs, and anything that we say is not going to be effective in challenges against other decisions by the FDA. See, the problem is that intelligent lawyers, constitutional lawyers particularly, are concerned that the way the district court made their decision and the way that the appellate court partially affirmed that decision, okay, at least temporarily, right? That is
Right.
a temporary, okay, that the effect is that all kinds of other drugs can be challenged on the decisions made by the FDA. Insufficient study, right? Insufficient scientific proof that there's of safety. That's
So what so you
well,
what
yeah.
they
So they
haven't,
could, the Supreme Court could make the same position.
yeah,
We don't think we think that in this case, these two drugs, there is a valid argument, right, for insufficient study. But this decision cannot affect other decisions made by the FDA. You have to take each case of each drug on an individual basis.
oh, so they're really narrowing
Exactly. They
the
always do that.
yeah,
They
yeah,
always do that. And then they end up winning a lot of the people who have middle critical positions, right?
yeah.
Right? Understandable middle critical positions, right?
So all right, so probably that's what you think is going to happen ultimately, huh? That they're going to come up with something that's narrow that will still allow the the drug to be available.
Excuse me, I had to cough.
Oh,
They could make it available, and they could throw it back to the states, which is what they originally said when they did Dodd.
yeah.
right? They said we're going to recognize state rights, and the argument against the district court's uh, uh, argument, as well as the appellate court's partial affirmation of the district court decision, is that it interferes with states' rights.
Yeah. So we're going to end up once again with a situation where if you want to know if anything is legal, well, it really depends on where you live.
That's right.
It really depends on your state.
It comes down to geocultural, right, and geopolitical positioning.
Right.
What it comes down to.
And so the opportunity to have made it federalized and made it national and one law for everyone, well, could have happened or could happen, but likely not.
It is a good way to study how the right is going to move, because they could make similar challenges, okay, and hope that federal appellate, the circuit courts
Mhm.
make decisions on their favor, so that it goes up to the Supreme Court and they take advantage of a 6-3 majority.
Right. But the whole idea is that the path of the Supreme Court is to just kick it back to the states, and then it's all up to the states.
Yeah, and that's what they said during Dodd. So they would be completely consistent with one of the elements of Dodge. Dodd.
Dodd, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, um, they're going to wait for the 11th hour. I think they have until we're in the West Coast. They have until 11:59
Yeah.
Eastern time. So, like by
Right.
9 o'clock, we should
Yeah,
know,
that's right.
if
Exactly.
not sooner.
By 8:59 or earlier. Yeah.
And your bet is what? That
They're going to kick it back.
yeah. All right, we'll see. We'll
They
see.
may make comments. I mean, they can also kick it back and then have dissenting opinions, or
Yeah.
they can have explanations of the majority opinion, and then they can also include dissenting opinion. So that's like, I think that's likely to happen when you got three women on the bench, right? And two of them are progressives.
Right. So it means that it likely, if you're in a state where it's available, it probably will continue to be available.
Yeah.
And if you're a state that's not, then
They got a challenge again.
yeah. And so we'll just keep debating this over and over and over.
Yeah, I on the one hand, I wish they wouldn't, right? For the sake of women's health.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if they do, that's good, because all younger generation are just going to keep turning on them.
Yeah.
The younger generation is much less vulnerable to ideological history. You know, the old trends, whether they be traditional conservative or this neocon rabid hybrid.
Yeah, well, definitely, as you point out, it's going to be the younger generation that makes the
Yep.
decision because,
Yep.
you know, uh, you know, Amy Coney Barrett isn't going to have any more babies, and
Well, doesn't she have 8 combination of
she's got enough, yeah. But
a
I mean,
natural childbirth and
all the
adoption?
other, I mean, older. I mean, for an older crowd, I think their minds are made up,
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's settled law.
Yes.
So now it's up to a new generation to weigh in and say, "Hey, wait a minute, you know, if now you're saying it's not settled law, it's settled."
Right.
And younger people can say it's settled, and abortion is legal.
hmm
I
Dodd was. They're going to, hopefully they will criticize specifically the Dodd decision, and then they will. There are enough of them. You remember what happened when people were really unsatisfied with the way, when we found out about what really happened with the Watergate break-in,
mean,
and then the reaction. One of the reactions was hundreds of thousands of people applied for law school
mhm.
nationwide. And part of the motivation was that they wanted to work against the kind of corruption that was becoming more and more visible as the investigations went on during Watergate. Okay, and my first year at law school, it just happened to be the point where Agnew had just been forced to resign. So it was all happening right there, and the majority of students said, well, there's no way that Nixon can escape. If he escapes impeachment, there's no way that he can escape being prosecuted as an ordinary citizen after if he resigns from office. Okay, and I said this will be the precedent, and I was very much alone in that, you know. So now we have a similar circumstance, right? We're looking at the first, not only a doubly impeached president,
Yeah.
but the guy's up against at least four different results from pending, three big ones, pending grand jury indictments. Okay,
Right.
I'm so glad that all of this discussion is taking place because people finally understand that the people who actually vote to indict is not the prosecutor. Okay, it's the grand jury that votes to indict, and
Right.
the prosecutor does have the last say. They can make the choice as to whether or not they're actually going to indict, but it's people, right? It's
Mm.
a jury that makes those decisions. So the general public has to recognize that they potentially, right, are
Mm.
members of the group that made the decision to indict when that happens or not to indict. Okay. So people keep, pointing the finger at Bragg, right? That's all wrong, man. I mean, he's got to make the choice. Does he prosecute on the basis of the fact that the grand jury indicted? That it's as simple as that. So please stop talking about, Mr. Bragg. Please, Mr. Jordan. And then what about that decision made by made by the district court judge in New York in favor of Jordan, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard about that.
Was it? I think it was a 20-page.
Oh yeah, it was. It said, and there was a question about whether or not it was sort of boilerplate GOP rhetoric.
It was.
Yeah,
It
and
was.
it was just there to, and that was over the uh,
Whether or not uh,
the
Bragg could refuse to participate in the investigation done by the House of Representatives under Jim Jordan's leadership.
right, right, and what she said something like it was a circus or a political circus or
It
something.
was, yeah, it was just a political theater.
Oh yeah, political theater. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So this is why I'm
Aren't you
glad.
glad that we could read as children? We came up eager to read and learn, and
Well, I'm just
you
glad that
really know
you.
all of this.
I'm glad that you have a legal education. I'm still at my weekly reader for.
Yeah, that's basically why I went to law school.
But now
I
you.
really, yeah, I wasn't really interested in practicing.
Now
Yeah.
I said something. I said Dodd. It's Dobbs, not
Oh,
Dodd.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. It's
It's
The
The
Dobbs decision.
Dobbs decision,
Yeah, yeah.
which undid Roe v.
It,
Wade.
my plate got a little loose. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it's just that when you said Dodd, I kept thinking of Chris
Yeah,
Dodd,
no, it's Dobbs.
but it's
Yeah, I
Dobbs.
was thinking of Chris Dodd too. That's weird.
Yeah.
We
But
shouldn't do that.
yeah, and
That's too much. That's too much sports stuff.
And Dobbs, that's the majority ruled that Roe was an error, and
Oh, and terrible rationale. I mean, it's just that it was a terrible decision that where the rationale did not pass muster.
yeah,
It wasn't.
it was written by Samuel Alito, and
Yeah,
by now we should know that he is kind of the villain on the court. When it comes to
yeah, yeah. He. We used to always think that the most recent. Well, let me see. The second to the last. That Scalia
Scalia, yeah.
was the bad boy, right?
Scalia
But
seems reasonable now versus Alito.
yeah, I wouldn't put it that way, but I would say that yeah, he was less self righteous and ideological than
Alito.
yeah, Alito.
Alito just seems like the theocrat.
What is it with all these Italian descent people?
Yeah, Alito is just the theocrat.
Yeah.
Here's a thing. Here's what the majority ruled: that Roe was egregiously wrong and on a collision course with the Constitution. Alito writes that the 1973 ruling ended a political process in which states had for years crafted their own stances on abortion. He says, quote, it imposed the same highly restrictive regime on the entire nation, and it effectively struck down the abortion laws of every single state. So that's what the majority ruled. The Roe decision was wrong, and that was Dobbs, the Dobbs decision. So you're saying that
Yeah.
that they're probably going to rule on that or mention Dobbs in their ruling on mifepristone.
Yeah, I got. You know what? I'm going to go back and read the Dobbs thing again because one of the interesting things about Dobbs is the issue of uh, the issue of well, it's a jurisdictional issue. Yeah, does the court
Yeah,
have jurisdiction? And then under that is who's being harmed, right? Is does the plaintiff actually suffer a harm? Okay,
yeah,
and in this instance, Dobbs is a doctor, so
mm,
it's kind of why previous to the contraception cases that came out of the Northeast, that came out
mm,
of Connecticut and Massachusetts in the
right.
mid '60s,
Yeah,
the original reason that in Connecticut the case was thrown out as lacking jurisdiction was because the plaintiffs again were medical professionals. They weren't actual people who would be affected by being denied right the use of contraceptive devices.
yeah,
So that's really interesting because now the Supreme Court, by deciding Dobbs, right, it sees a medical professional as having standing.
yeah.
That's the issue is standing.
Right, and that's really always the basis of whether a suit is a good one or a bad one, or a case is a good one or a bad one, and that is, do you have the right to sue?
Hmm.
You have a right.
It's the initial jurisdictional question.
Yeah, standing's all like,
That's it.
ask any first year law student.
That's right.
Standing is,
Civil procedure.
yeah,
That's number one, man.
the key. Standing.
Okay.
So, all right.
Yeah.
So look, so in this case, we'll probably see, as we pointed out a couple of minutes ago, that they're going to send it back to the states, and it'll be
That's
up
right.
to the state.
That's what I think they're going to do.
All right. So let's cross our fingers. It'd be a lot easier if it weren't that way, uh, and if it was more of a federal law. But I think the best thing you can say is, thank goodness we live in California.
Yep.
I mean, and thank goodness most Asian Americans live in California, because that's,
Yep. Even though Catholicism is a strong influence, right, in
oh
the
yeah,
way that they take their position,
yeah,
and even when we talk about Asian Americans, I think Filipinos and Vietnamese, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. All right. So look, we'll wait for the mifepristone ruling from the Supreme Court sometime tonight. Uh, you mentioned, Bragg and Jordan, and those are the things. One other topic I want to talk about before we get to the fun topics. We're going to talk about Prince and the Warriors and
right.
A's,
Yeah.
but that Fox $787.5 million settlement. I mean,
That's a nice piece of change, I know.
yeah, and some of the repercussions already. They're it looks like they may be firing some of the people who were involved. Not some of the big ones, but
Yeah, not the faces.
well, Janine Pirro, it looks like she might be on.
Oh, that'd be good. 'Cause I
Yeah,
can't stand her, man. I
I'm not
mean,
saying I like her,
this
but
is
I'm
a forward.
saying,
You do? You like
no,
Janine
no,
Pirro?
I'm
Oh,
not saying I like her. I'm just saying that, it looks like she might suffer because of the 787.5 million. Uh,
well,
and also, what, Maria Bartiromo looks like she
yeah,
might.
yeah.
She,
Well, what about Tucker?
I think Tucker
Mother,
Carlson,
Mother Tucker.
mother. I think he's safe, but you
Yeah,
know,
he's too big. He's too big to fail.
but at this point, when you are saying, look, we're gonna pay $787.5 million to Dominion, you're essentially making Dominion a partner. And, Dominion should have their own show.
Hey,
Welcome to the Dominion election show.
that's not a bad idea, man.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is the truth. I mean, if you are
You know what'd be
Fox.
really great if they bought time on Fox, you know, and then educated the public
Oh
on how
yeah,
the voting process works, right?
yeah,
You know, they said, okay, you know, this is what you got to do. That's screw that apology. You know,
yeah,
you're not going to get that. You know, you're not going to get the main man being forced into court and all that stuff. But buy some time,
yeah.
man. You
Actually,
know?
I thought about that. I thought that really, I was unsatisfied by what happened this week. I thought you need a crawl on every Fox screen, like
You little
as,
banner man.
yeah, as opposed to the headlines or the stock charts. You got to put down something like "We screwed
Sure.
up. We're liars. We're Fox. We lie all the time." That's why
Yeah,
look,
and the beginning of the banner should be truth semicolon.
truth.
Yeah,
Right, right.
you know,
Well, the thing is, look, when we were talking about, uh, you said Dodd. I said, "Oh yeah,
yeah,
Dodd," and
Dobbs,
and then
Dobbs.
it was Dobbs. Journalists are always quick to correct. Now,
Thank you.
if you always
And
correct,
those
and
of
you're
us who try to do journalism properly are always quick to accept.
accept, right? But what I'm pointing out is most talk show hosts aren't journalists, and most times they're not
They ain't
interested.
lawyers either.
Right, and they're not interested in correcting in real time,
That's right.
or and they're just happy that it's in the evanescence of the moment they make a mistake and then they forget about it.
Yeah, yeah,
But you know, I also worked in newspapers, and newspaper journalists are somewhere in the paper they'll put a correction box, and they may word it in a way so it doesn't make it sound as bad, but they're always quick to correct because that's all they have is their
yeah.
credibility.
That's it. You got to maintain your credibility, man.
And you've got to be willing to accept that, yeah, we got it wrong.
I screwed up.
So yeah, so in my case, in your case, it's a very little minor thing that we said Dodd instead of Dobbs, but we were quick to correct. So anyway, so getting back to the Fox thing, we're not making $787.5 million errors, but Fox is. And
Yeah,
after you make a payment.
that's about a third of what their annual take is. I think
I
their
know that.
annual take is around 2 billion, something like that.
Yeah, it's like 1.6. I mean, that's why initially Dominion asked for 1.6, because all the reports say that that's what Fox, that's their
Yeah,
profit.
that's their annual. Huh?
Yeah, 1.6 billion. But when you start to say, okay, we have a $787.5 million cost, then you start cutting your talent. The talent's the biggest expense that Fox has, and maybe some of the talent who are behind the scenes, like this Viet Din. Do you know Viet Din?
I've seen the name come up. Yeah,
He is the chief legal officer at
that's
Fox,
right. He's a lawyer. Yeah,
and boat person, right? Came from Vietnam, or I think through Thailand. He is a Harvard
another,
College graduate, and then
another Harvard guy. Yeah,
yeah, another Harvard guy. But he's got the story. I'm a boat person, Harvard. He moved from New York to Brentwood recently in the last couple of years. Big place, because he's rolling in it. He is the guy
yep.
at Fox, and he's like after Murdoch. What I said this week, I said, don't beat up on Murdoch. Murdoch is the figurehead, but the guts, the decisions are made by this Viet Din, who is representative of all the conservative Asian Americans. He is the conservative Asian American. Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, no, Viet Din. And I wonder what kind of heat he's under, because he's the guy who whispered into Rupert Murdoch's ear, "Now don't sell out yet. Don't settle yet. Don't settle yet. Now settle. Now opening statements. Now settle." And it cost $787.5 million. And you get the depositions on the internet. You can read what
Yep,
they
you
got.
can.
It's all there. I mean, do you think Mr. Legal uh, Mr. JD? Do you think that he got bad advice, Rupert Murdoch?
This is actually a typical pattern.
Mm,
Even when in defamation cases and other cases,
mm.
when the defendant is looking at really bad news, I mean, the evidence is just overwhelming. They still hold out because one of the one of the old saws that you hear in law school is a punishment delayed, right? Is a good thing. So the longer that you can put that off, the better. Punishment
So
delayed, payment delayed,
yeah,
right?
but
Yeah,
look, they could have none of the stuff that they admitted to. Like they admitted that, oh well, if someone tells a lie, you think they should, broadcast it? Do you think they should put it out? Of course they shouldn't. Do you think they should, pay a penalty? Yes, of course. None of those admissions
right.
needed to go out there. If they had settled early on, but now they settle it. The depositions are out there. The truth's out there. The case is, the trial. You didn't have to have the trial because it would have just been a kind of a repeat of everything that was said in the depositions.
Okay. You make really good points, but there's another side to this.
Yeah.
The plaintiffs, and do the plaintiffs want to settle? Okay, and so what they
They
were
didn't want
doing,
to settle. You think Dominion didn't want to settle, do
they
you?
don't want to settle. They wanted to take it as far as they could, and can you imagine if they went to court, they could get punies.
Yeah.
People. Well, that's punitive damages,
Yeah.
right? Okay, juries sometimes when they see the actions of the plaintiff as not only being hurtful, but and therefore they're liable, but they see them as being so egregious that they're worthy of punishment,
Yeah.
and they can. I've seen juries double up right on,
Yeah.
on the original
Oh yeah.
settlement amount, and
What's funny is that we did. I haven't even really talked about the idea of actual malice, whether or
mm,
not
mm, mm.
there was actual malice in what Fox did, because it was clear that they did what they did. I guess that just proves that there was actual malice. If you did something and you knew that it was false and you still said it, there
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. I got to read through all of the deposition material, but there were only about two or three people. Maria Bartiromo, to her credit, as a defendant, she's on record as having said, "Can you give me the evidence? Can you show? I'm looking forward to it." And this, you were saying this during broadcast,
Right, right.
okay? So I think that she has a little bit of a defense, but in terms of intent, right, malice,
Yeah.
and
But
but there
the
are
other
others.
guy, the guys behind the scenes,
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Viet Din and even
Yeah,
Murdoch,
I
and
don't want to lose track of this either. They're all vulnerable to separate suits as
yeah.
individuals. They can go after them as separate individuals. this
Oh yeah, yeah.
this is going to be a while, man.
This is a career day
Oh
for
yeah.
those lawyers
Oh,
because
this is going to be a fun ride, man.
yeah, well, and I think that I, I I'm just disappointed that most people who are Fox viewers don't really know about this. They don't know about the details.
Okay. Here, let me jump two steps forward. Right?
Yeah, go ahead.
If they knew, would they care?
No, because
Yes,
it
that's correct.
becomes
They would not care. They would
yeah,
not give a rat's booty.
yeah, because it's just like the church. It's like
Yeah,
the
hey,
the church has pedophiles. Okay, I'm still going to mass. That you still believe.
I'm good with God.
Right.
The church is human. They make mistakes, even though this is a millennial. Yeah, this is a doubly millennial, element, right, of priest practice, right?
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is that
Nuns too. I don't want to leave them out.
yeah, I just know that I've talked to some Fox listeners or viewers, and some of them don't know the details of the case.
Well,
Some of them
they don't
don't
talk about it
care.
on Fox, and they
Yeah.
and they and they go. that Fox is their singular source, right?
Right, right, but they don't care, and it's okay. They'll live with it. I mean, they're
Yeah,
just
that's right. Well, they lived with Trump. They
yeah.
voted for him, and they want him back in. So
So in some ways, for those of us who were hoping that the facts of the case would prove once and for all that Fox is not truthful, Fox is a damaged journalistic organization, and should have zero
they're
credibility.
not journalistic. They're only partially
They're
journalistic.
partially right, right, and some you could tell also by their how they were trying to justify, doing what they did.
highest highest journalistic standards.
No, they were saying that if
Oh
you
my God!
they were saying if it was an opinion and if it was newsworthy, it was okay. You can say it. It
Right,
does
right.
not have to be true. It's newsworthy
It's
and
First Amendment. It's First
yeah,
Amendment. It's expression of perspective and opinion. Yep.
right. And so then that's
In
how
other words, it's our right to lie.
right. Right. And that's how they could skirt actual malice. But
Right.
no, but they got him, as they say, dead to rights, and the settlement shows it. The other thing that I think that's it's worth explaining is that in a civil case, it's not guilt or innocent. It's
Preponderance of the evidence.
right, but it's also the money. The money matters because the money shows just how guilty they were. It's not a they don't use the term guilty, but
Because
money
it's
is like
not
the meter.
criminal. Yeah, you use liable for
Right,
civil suit.
money is the meter that shows guilty, guilty, guilty.
How liable were they?
787 million.
That's right.
787.5. That just shows, hey, that's pretty darn guilty.
There's
Uh,
some precision here, right? We measured this, to the point of real accuracy in terms of the harm done.
so a Fox viewer would say, oh, 787.5 million. Well, they're not $800 million guilty, are they? No, if they're, I mean, that's my
That's not that
threshold.
bad. That's not that bad.
Yeah, my threshold is 800 million. So my
Okay.
threshold is 1 billion.
Yeah, that's right.
$1 billion.
If they passed the billion mark, that would be pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys.
Yeah,
You
787.5
Americans.
that's still iffy.
Yeah.
That's
You
still,
ordinary Americans,
yeah, that's not.
it's got to
Yeah,
reach 1
that's
billion.
not
Then
an
we're talking.
adequate demonstration of actual liability.
Right. Then we're talking real money. Then we're
Man,
talking.
I'm waiting for the individual lawsuits. I want to see Giuliani with see if he got better hair dye.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He did a disservice to all those people of color. He did
Yeah,
a disservice. And I just, he was, as far as I'm concerned, I've changed his name. I'm calling him
okay.
Machiavelli.
You know what my position is? Now he's America's mayor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now he is. Yeah, if you bought that stuff when he was standing up there with GW,
Yeah. All right. All right.
with
So
President Bush, you
all
know.
right, Fox is 787.5 million. Let's put that to rest. And now, as we cross over into the
Oh,
outburst,
Smartmatic. We got to do a little bit of Smartmatic.
yeah. Oh,
A
so
little bit
Smartmatic. Tell me,
Okay.
they're the other company. They want 2 billion.
Two
That's
point
how much
seven.
they're
Yeah,
selling.
I don't think one. Yeah. So they're and and yeah. Their main argument is everybody's saying that we affected a national election and we were only in business in Los Angeles County, right?
Mhm.
So geographically, it would be impossible for them to swing something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, depending on, well, maybe the 3 million votes that that Mr. Trump said exist, maybe that's all coming out of L.A., right? So
Well, Smartmatic, they're the other company,
that's right. They're
and
competitors actually to
yeah.
Dominion.
So, and I don't think their case comes up for another year. So they've got this is going to be in the news for a long time.
And like I said, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they're going to follow up. Dominion's going to follow up with individual lawsuits.
Yeah. So,
And that's going to be interesting. So even if they don't lose their job because Fox gets rid of them,
mhm.
they might lose their entire estate and everything that they've got. Right? I mean, that's what's going to happen to this man. One of the guys two of the people who shot people and nearly killed them or actually killed them. You know,
Oh,
uh,
are you talking about the case in
earlier this week.
New York and the case in
Yeah,
Kansas City? Yeah.
cheerleaders getting wounded, and then one girl getting killed, in the car, and
And
you
then
know,
Ralph
uh,
Jarl
oh
in
yeah, they're gonna, the plaintiffs should be able to take everything they have.
yeah,
Take the house. You want to do the home. The man's home is his castle,
yeah,
and the old castle defense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I predict those people will all be moving to Las Vegas or Nevada soon, because there they can protect themselves from any kind of civil judgment. I mean, they declare bankruptcy, and
they actually, one of the first things that they do if they make contact with a lawyer that knows their stuff is they alienate their ownership to the property.
meaning
They do a quick claim deed to somebody in the family,
someone else, yeah.
or to a third party, so
So
that even if you win, you can't take that piece of property.
so
Or
the clock is already ticking, and the smart ones have already taken some action, and it'll
That's
make
right.
and the faster they move to judgment proof, the more of a mockery they make of the system of
That's
justice.
exactly right. That's
It's
exactly right. That's one of the great frustrations of the system, is that they can alienate. Now, some states don't allow that. I don't know what the California rule is now, but I remember complaining about that in the 70s.
it would
That
be New York. The cases in question are New York, Texas, and Kansas and Missouri.
Misery.
And
I call
I
it
would
misery.
I would think that they would allow for people to, well, like what's the name? Evans in the Vincent Chin case was in Michigan, and he declared bankruptcy, moved to Nevada, made himself
That's right. He
president,
moved to Nevada. That's right.
and now it's the race to be judgment proof.
Yep.
These civil cases. All right. Anyway, that's depressing. Uh,
Yep. Let's do something fun, please.
all right. So as we cross the hour threshold, this is, and there are three things I want to talk about. First is Prince, second the Warriors, and then the A's. So first Prince, this is his death day, April 21st. It was 2016, right?
There
There
he
he is.
is. Little
There he is.
slice of Prince.
Little slice of Prince.
Thieves in the Temple. One of my favorites.
These, yeah, I, I almost forgot about this, and then I noticed that I subscribed to the paper in Minnesota, and big deal in Paisley Park. There, they had a little ceremony. It was April 21st, 2016, that Prince died of an accidental fentanyl overdose. We didn't even know really what fentanyl overdoses
That's
were.
that's right. This is the first time that the public got a good look at it, and
Yeah,
we didn't know how omnipresent it was.
yeah,
That people, the dealers and manufacturers were stepping on amphetamines and downers,
yeah,
barbiturates with fentanyl.
yeah. So I know it's sad. I'm not even wearing purple, but my background in my on the web, on the web, you know, background, it's
It,
purple.
I don't know. I'm seeing some purple trim behind me.
Yeah, yeah,
Behind me, I see purple trim.
yeah. In honor of Prince Rogers Nelson, April 21st, 2016. He was just 57. And, my favorite Prince song really is The Pope. You know, you can be
Okay.
the president. I'd rather be the Pope.
Right, right, right.
You can be the side effect. I'd rather be the dope.
Right on,
The
right
Pope.
on,
Right
right
on.
on.
I mean, I just think, man, I started discovering Prince when he died. I mean, I always liked him. I always thought he was the guy, but I really started listening to his music more.
Yeah, my favorite was besides Thieves in the Temple was the Kiss.
The Kiss. Oh, the Kiss. Oh,
Kiss, your
yeah, I
Kiss.
like the
Woo,
Kiss. That the
woo.
Kiss, when I was on the radio, uh, Kiss. That was a good song to play at any time because it just,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was,
If it doesn't make you, it doesn't. If it doesn't touch your horn vibes, there's
yeah,
something wrong with you. You
yeah.
know.
But I'm telling you, the Pope. You can be the president. I'd rather be the Pope.
Yeah, I'd have to listen to that again and then put them all, in a row and see who comes out ahead, which one comes out ahead.
You can be the side effect. I'd rather be the dope.
Yeah, right on.
The Pope. Okay, all right. So that's Prince. So and the thing about it, he
Big
was
show. Yeah, he was generational,
yeah,
but he was also a product of at least two previous generations of R&B style.
yeah.
You know,
At least James Brown.
at
Got
least that, and
yeah,
then all of the funk. I mean,
yeah.
even some of the L.A. style funk and San Francisco Sly Stone.
Slice Stone,
You know,
Tower Power.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Tower Power
when
was almost, people don't realize how long Tower Power been playing, right? I mean,
when
there's
I first heard of Tower Power, it was 1970.
yeah, that's about right. It was just
1970.
after Santana made it with his first two albums, right?
Yeah. And
Santana broke in '68,
yeah.
right?
But the Tower Power and the horns continue, I guess.
For the most part. There's
Uh,
there's there's been generational change,
horn
and
section.
I think Kupka the doctor, didn't he pass?
I don't know the baritone guy, baritone
Yeah,
sax
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Or
I liked, and they got a guy named Emil playing I
oh,
think
sure, trumpet.
trumpet guy.
Yeah,
So yeah, I always liked them. And if you're of a certain vintage, Tower Power was kind of dance and both fast and slow. They were
that's
the
right.
they were the they were
Young
the
man, still a
yeah,
young man,
billion men. Yeah.
sparkling in the sand,
Yeah.
sparkling in the
Oh
sand.
yeah, yeah.
Slow
And
one.
I still got that album, East Bay Grease.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. That
Oh
was
man, they got a whole slew of albums. I mean, it's
all
really
right.
great.
But Prince took from I mean I didn't take from them, but it's
Yeah,
sort
he
of
borrowed from everybody, but his thing was definitely because he played club music, right? He had a small band,
yeah.
and that's where a lot of the best people get their start is in a small group.
Yeah. And let's not forget he was big with Sheena Easton.
He pulled
And
her in, yeah, after the first couple of big albums,
yeah, I mean
and she toured with him for a long time.
I just I miss him. I mean, what would
Me
he
too. Me too. I think it was really sad that he died that young because he was still cool.
he would have been 63.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
he
It's
was
been
still
seven
playing,
years.
he'd be 60. I'd like to see him apply for Medicare playing.
Yeah, yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
he was all screwed up there because of his heel. So I mean,
Well, he was a little guy.
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
he was a little guy. He was a little guy. He wanted a little bit.
5'2"
Yeah.
he
I wish I
was.
was taller. I wish I was a baller.
Is that what he said?
No, no, it wasn't him. That was another group.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
anyway, Prince. So we remember Prince.
yeah. Remember when the Filipinos were trying to claim him?
Well, I think they still can. I think I think I did a piece on this one time. I think his father was part or something. Like
Yeah.
played in the band that I forget what it was, but I remember writing about it, and I think I don't think it's definitive though. I think I don't know. Is he Filipino? Is Prince Filipino?
He's claiming, but nobody ever came out and said, yeah. I mean, in the instance of Bruno Mars, he came out and said, yeah, I got a spot of that.
Yeah, he's
But
also part Jewish. Bruno Mars on the Hungarian side. He's
yeah, yeah,
everything.
that's right.
He's everything. He's
Yeah,
everything.
on his mom's side. Yeah, he's got the usual Portuguese,
Yeah.
and
Hey, but Bruno Mars, uh, he has a debt to Prince.
oh yeah. Well, but see, Bruno Mars still he drew from the same top
Right.
as Prince.
Right.
I mean, because if you ever see him when they were in Honolulu, when they were still playing
Oh
the
yeah.
clubs, he gets out and does a whole James Brown thing,
Yeah.
and he's great. man. I mean, remember when they did the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah, oh that was great.
And the commentators, the sports commentators, could not stop talking about him. He said, "Oh no, yeah, man, I saw first time I saw Prince was in Honolulu, man, and he was always kicking, you know." And they all went right down the line. All five guys said, "Yeah, man, you know, you got to go see. You ever get a chance to see Mars, you know,
Yeah,
you got to see Bruno Mars, you know."
Bruno
So
Mars.
I thought that was cool.
Bruno, don't call me Pete Mars.
Yeah, Pete. Yeah, no, he's cool. He's very cool. I mean,
Okay, all right.
some of his lyrics are very down. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, they're very explicit. You know, they tell
yeah,
you that on
yeah.
explicit. But anyway, yeah.
All right,
So
all
we're
right.
doing Prince. We were doing Prince,
Move
and
on to
we're sad that he's gone. We were
but
talking about fentanyl,
yeah. But
which
now, but let's move on to the Warriors. Let's move on to
oh, okay,
a
okay, the
happier topic
Warriors.
because
So
that was a great game
yes, it was.
last night because the Warriors played like it mattered. They weren't as sloppy.
And
Still,
their bench was good.
yeah. Moses Moody played well.
Their
Kaminga played
bench was
well
good. Their defense was excellent.
for a change.
Yeah,
It
they were
seemed like
blocking balls. They were stealing balls. You know.
they realized they had to win, but
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't sink in. They're too lackadaisical. I think they also realized that they don't need Draymond Green.
Yeah, but nobody. They're not going to say that out loud, man.
I
You know.
know they're not going to,
Uh,
but everyone, when the suspension of Draymond Green happened, they were all supportive. It's oh yeah, we wouldn't have won it without him. But you know what? This is his option year, and it's Green's option. He could go take the 27 million or go to another team. I don't know if anyone's going to pay him more than 27 million, but I think they're kind of married to each other. So the Warriors don't want to, say the truth. But I think most fans saw the truth last night. The Warriors don't
that's
need Draymond Green. They don't need him.
you know, and their big three are in their 30s now. You know, so you know, the people got to. I think this past two games,
Mm.
people have realized that the time of this regime, right, is the end of the regime is nearing. You
It's
know.
nearing, but it doesn't have to like be. I mean, it still can go on. I mean, Curry played well. Thompson had an off game, but he's been
Well, defensively, he was good.
yeah. And then after that, after those two, everything else is iffy. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Jordan.
Thompson was low in the quantity, but he hit a couple of really important threes.
Yes, I that's why
You know,
he had key threes, but for the
that's
most
right.
part, he was chucking and not making them.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that Kevon Looney is always like one of my
He,
favorite words
he
because
plays really well all the time, and he's played every freaking game,
he doesn't
dude.
get hurt. He's
How can you do that? You know?
consistent. I think you gotta start thinking about Jordan Poole. Is he really the long term? He's really inconsistent. I would like trade him to try to get a better, more consistent player. I
Okay,
mean,
JP. How about Wiggins?
I like Wiggins, but man, he was gone for a month. I,
Yeah.
I I like him. I like him better than Jordan Poole.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
he's more consistent. Yeah.
more consistent, but I think you got to start thinking about hey, maybe we can move Poole for someone else. Like Jamal, they won't trade. Denver won't trade Jamal Murray, but Jamal Murray is consistent. He's a good
Yeah.
player. And a
Yeah.
lot of these players from Kentucky who are the one and done players,
Right. Right.
they're really good now. I mean, Jamal Murray was a one and doneer, and I think De'Aaron Fox. Well, he was Kentucky. Malik Monk for the Kings. He kind of got quiet yesterday. It shows that
He was well defended.
yeah. Well, it
Even though
shows
they switched up. I mean, they switched up on his coverage with
yeah
the bench, right?
yeah.
But
Well,
he was well defended.
I thought the Kings, were okay. I mean that's how the Warriors should be with the Kings at all times. Is they
Yeah, and you know they had their full guard, man.
yeah
You know, because Sabonis was there.
yeah. I mean the Warriors should always be that much better than the Kings. But when they're not, it's because the Warriors are just like,
They're iffy.
yeah,
They're
they're
inconsistent.
yeah. And so I hope that this is the beginning of a historic. Well, wouldn't be too historic, but it's rare that someone comes a team comes back from an 0-2 start. But I hope this is the beginning of, it goes 2-2 after Sunday, and then they go back and they win one on the road. If they lose one and it's 3-2, then they're up against it for two games, and they've
Yeah,
got
that's right. That's tough.
it's a harder road to go than if they won one of the first two games.
Yeah,
They should have done. Now they got to win these middle games, game 5 and 6, one of those, and then they got to win game 7.
that's right. And
And
that's what their commentators said was going to happen. It's going to come down to
well,
7.
I hope, but you're taking a first series to the brink when you've got so many more things coming up. If you're going to win the championship, which
Well, I'll
means
say this. Okay, first of all, they were within reach in both of the games that they lost,
yeah,
particularly game number 1.
oh yeah, they should have won.
Okay, they are, and so it's not as bad as it looks with the 2-1. Secondly, they were ahead by what 19, 20 points, but in the last couple of minutes
Yeah,
of the game, and I think they ended up 12 points ahead or something.
yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway, they beat them. I
yeah.
mean, they beat them,
They're
and they weren't shooting that well. What was
yeah,
it, 38, 40%, right?
yeah. That's why the quality, you can see the quality that the Warriors have over the Kings. The thing when they don't beat the Kings handily like they did last night, it's because of the mental game. They're not there.
Oh man, they were throwing balls away in
Yeah,
both the first two games. I
yeah.
mean,
They
I was screaming at the. I don't scream at the TV that much, but I was screaming at the TV because they were making really dumb passes.
it's just lackadaisical, not just throwing the ball around.
They're
And
not. They're looking at the guy, and they're not looking at who's covering him.
yeah,
It's sort of like the kind of mistakes that some of the 49er quarterbacks were making when they throw interceptions. Right? They're
yeah,
not. They're looking at their receiver, but they're not watching who the hell's covering them.
yeah.
And people, that secondary coverage has got really good, man.
Yeah,
You
I,
know,
I, I just think that you're right. They played well yesterday. I'm back on the bandwagon. I think they can win Sunday, and then it'll be up to their mental state. But I think what's clear is they don't need Draymond Green. And in fact, what they were saying was, as if without Green, they were spaced. They were more spaced out on the floor. It allowed for more, open lanes to the hoop on drives. Kevon Looney took the
so
place.
you're with Mullins, huh? You're with Mullins
Oh, what did he say?
analysis. Yeah.
Did he say that? I didn't.
Oh
I didn't.
yeah. No. He was very emphatic.
I just think that I think you got to say bye bye to Draymond. And
Okay.
if you say bye bye to Draymond, maybe you could pick someone up.
You
You
know,
trade him to the Lakers and get
you
one.
would have to. Yeah. I would say, okay, if you want to do that, you better get somebody really good.
Well, you need. Some people say you need a bad boy enforcer. I think the idea that you need a bad boy enforcer is overrated. You don't need a bad boy enforcer. You could be nice guys.
Yeah.
Can't you be nice guys?
Sure. You can just be physical as hell,
Yeah. You need
and
some big
and
guys. You need a big
and
guy.
and be clear that you're willing to foul, but you don't have to stomp on people and
Yeah.
or
They
hit them in the. You don't have to hit them in the ding dong.
Boy, it's funny that in yesterday's games there was a couple of plays where people got hit in the ding dong,
Yeah.
and another like when you're down on the ground and someone tried to kick another player. I think it was involved Joel Embiid and another player, Claxton, on Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's basketball shouldn't be that physical, but it is. But it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be that kind of physical. I
Yeah,
mean, it should be enough that you pull honest fouls, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I just think if they, um, the saying about Draymond Green is you need a nasty guy. You need like a bouncer type, because that you can have four nice guys and one ass. And so Draymond Green's the ass. He plays the role of the ass. But it's when it starts to become disruptive of your own team, that's when you have to
Yeah,
reassess.
when it's injurious. Yep. Yeah, that's right.
And I think it's come to that, and now they know, hey, they can win without him.
Yep.
And so I hope they can do some kind of deal where they can get someone for him. A
Well, they,
nicer,
they got a lot of people who were short time in that were very productive for the short time that they were in. Moody.
Moody. I love
You know,
Moses Moody. I
yeah.
want to see him do well. And Kaminga is learning how to play.
Kaminga, short time in,
Yeah,
and
learning how to play the way he plays, which is take the ball, don't try to shoot it too well. I mean, he shoots okay. He's not a great
he,
shooter,
yeah,
but he's a dunker. He's a
he's a
driver.
dunker. He's close into the net.
Yeah,
He knows how to time position
yeah,
relative to an active pass, right?
yeah.
He's watching the ball, and he's moving with the without the ball, which is cool.
And
I
and
like it
he's
when he lays in wait. He's like 5-6 feet out of the paint,
yeah,
and
and
then
then,
Looney gets a pass, and as soon as Looney gets a pass, he starts moving, right? And
yeah,
that's how he gets in. Yeah, it's really cool.
yeah,
I like playing the scenes back in
yeah,
slow mo, just so you can see the intricacy of the movement, right? Because
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah. I think Kaminga is really a smart player, but when the when it gets clogged up in the paint,
Yeah,
with Draymond Green,
yeah.
it's like too much of an obstacle there for Kaminga unless you create for Kaminga.
Well,
But
yeah. Well, that's good if you want to draw a lot of fouls.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's bad when the other guys got people who when they play bigs.
yeah,
If they're playing the bigs, it's hard,
yeah.
man.
Hey, and
When
one
they
of the
smash.
things though, they don't draw. They need to draw more fouls. Like I will deal with Jordan Poole if he continues to draw fouls, but sometimes
He did that. He did that well yesterday,
yeah. Well, that's his value.
and
His value.
he made the shot. He made shots from the line.
Yeah.
So
All right. So look, I'm back on the Warrior bandwagon now. We got to switch to the A's in our time remaining.
this is the sad part.
Yeah, because look, I used to go to A's games because the Giants were losers. And I as a 12, 13-year-old kid would go on AC Transit by myself late at night. I would go to Oakland and sit and watch the A's because they were winners. And it pains me that, you know, no one seems to cherish how good those 70s teams were in Oakland. They were champions. And
Oh no, the Raiders were great.
oh yeah, well the Oakland was a champion with the A's. They were a champion with the Warriors,
Yeah.
or not the Warriors, but the Raiders. And now both teams are going to Las Vegas, and it's I know I'm sad.
They're going to make money, man. It's pretty clear they're going to make big money. They got
Well,
enough of a local population to support that,
yeah,
even though it's a tourism, place. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's also look. I just hope the drought becomes really bad there, and they have water. And you're saying, boy, I love playing the A's, but the showers they tap the shower. Yeah. And it smells so bad because you
you don't
can't
get a
walk.
real shower. It's just a mist.
Yeah,
I get more out of a spray can.
yeah. I don't know. When I found out that they tried, I think it's worse about sports. When it's all about the money and
Yeah, well,
Oakland made a bid. I mean I think there's a lot of bad faith in the negotiation between the A's and the city because the Oakland tried and no fig leaf was given to Oakland. They just, the leak came out yesterday. They're leaving, and I think that this would make me not want to watch sports.
yeah, but they don't have a stadium yet, and so if they were to go there, they would either have to play at their AAA location
Mm,
and add seating capacity,
mm.
or they would have to play in Oakland for another year and a half to 2 years.
Well, I think the stadium if they're making this kind of noise, like we're leaving, it's going to
They're not
be
going to stay in Oakland to finish out, is what you're saying. They're just going
yeah.
to split for
Well, I
Vegas.
just think it's going to be a done deal. Someone's going to come up with the money to keep him there,
Yeah.
and maybe the owners will make even greater concessions than they think they would now. They certainly weren't willing to make any concessions to.
They
Uh,
say they're going to pick up a billion, and they want the city and state to pick up 500 million.
well, there's nothing happening in terms of major league sports in Nevada, and this is just an opportunity to for the state to toot their horn and say, okay, yeah, I mean, there's going to be enough people, I think, to back them, and
Yeah.
it's sad because the A's were, I just see how the last 10 years, 15 years they've been tanking, and we didn't know it. Until like the last, like this last year was the year when I realized, boy, the A's. Why would anyone spend any time with those guys? Or it just seemed like they were they weren't serious about fielding a team, about paying attention to the fan base, and I I lost interest, but my interest perked up as soon as they said we're going. Well, my interest in like trying to just remember, what they were about. They were a great team in the '70s, and then they lost their way. Maybe Charlie Finley's death, or maybe his leaving, his selling the team, because that was interesting when Charlie Finley had the A's.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he was a great owner.
Promoter, he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
he was
And
fun,
like you said, he was in touch with the fans.
yeah, and the
You
fans
know, I mean,
responded, and
sure.
the A's of the last 20 years have been, I don't know, it's just like it might as well have been a venture capital, you know uh, it just they were all about the money, and but so they cut the team to the bone, and what do they got? They got nothing, and I know I'm just upset with the A's.
Yeah.
All right,
All right. On that note,
that's a downer, I know. It's a downer, but
bye bye to the green and yellow.
yeah. So, but they're there another year, I guess. I'm still not going to go to any games. I mean, they're not worth
Yeah.
watching. They're not
Did
worth
you
watching.
see? Did you see the cap that one Toscana Anderson was wearing?
No, what did he wear?
He was wearing a green and gold cap, but the A's symbol was upside down.
Oh God, I didn't see
So I
that.
thought, geez, how fast did did they get those out? I
I
said,
know
man, they
he's an
just made
Oakland
the
guy.
announcement, and this guy's already got a cap that expresses some perspective on the A's leaving. Right? It's a trip.
Well, it's fine. I didn't see his cap, but I remember, I thought when they had Cespedes that maybe they would come around and they say, "Hey, we got a good team. We can make a run."
Hey, that's a good point. That's a
I
that's
thought
a really good point.
I thought they were going to make a run. This was like maybe 5 years ago, and then
Yep.
no, and then this new ownership, this Fisher guy. I thought they might be different. They could be playing in San Jose now. They had a deal ready, and they could, ballpark in San.
Yep.
Didn't want it. Didn't want it.
Yep.
And there are better places to play baseball in the Bay Area, places where it's warm. In the
Well,
evening.
Oakland's warm.
Well, not as warm as Fremont, maybe, or warm. There's some places in San Jose that would
That's
have been.
only a couple of miles further south. That's only less than 20 miles further south. Yeah,
Yeah,
but you make a good point.
yeah. But look, I grew up in San Francisco. I don't wear shorts naturally in the summertime because I know the summers are not warm in San Francisco.
That's right.
It wasn't until I moved to the East Bay, or shorts. Yeah, this is why. I mean, on any summer day, take Bart from say Walnut Creek to San Francisco, and see how the temperature is like 30 degrees different.
That's true.
There's better places to play baseball than
That's
San
true.
Francisco. Anyway, all right. So Dan, uh, thanks for joining us.
This, as usual, was a very enjoyable discussion. We got deep into some legal, juridical, and social matters,
Yeah. And then,
as usual. And all we have to do is wait for the next news cycle, the way things are going,
yeah,
with people's rights shrinking and the people who say we want smaller government doing things that make government intrusion into your life even deeper and greater. Is I don't, how do you bear that contradiction and not feel it? I mean, it's really just crazy.
yeah, the
Yeah.
smaller government guys are just, they just want to have things their own way, right? They just want government out. So it's everything in, in terms of their worldview. Meanwhile, people who are less wealthy, less prominent, they get screwed in a small government world.
Yeah, but that's because they actually uh, cheer on and support the people who are screwing them over.
Because
And
they,
when you tell them that, they say, "Tell me, show, explain to me how I am making decisions against my own interests.
yeah,
Explain it to me." And
it's
then
because,
you do it, and they say, "Nah, nah, 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 nah." I mean, they're just dismissive. They don't want to hear anything, factual or not.
yeah,
They don't want to hear it.
Dan, it's because the people who get screwed over aspire to be the people who are screwing over people.
Oh, they aspire to have the power to do what's done to them.
Right. They aspire.
So it's to
They're
do unto others as you're being done to.
right. They aspire someday to screw over people as badly as they're getting screwed over.
That's kind of true.
And then
That is true psychologically. They want power.
I want to be like that guy who's
Well,
screwing
yeah,
me over.
they're frustrated because other people's power is messing them up, and so they want to have the power to mess other people up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it
Unfortunately,
is.
that's the analysis. And
Yeah.
that's going to have to be good till next time.
All
So,
right,
look,
man.
look, Dan, thank you for joining us again. And I'll talk to you on the other side. Let me say goodbye. And there he goes, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, Professor Emeritus, which means you got to pay attention to him. That's what emeritus means in Latin. Pay attention to this guy. He's been there a long time. Always, not always, but with us most Fridays, we talked about a lot. We talked about this Purdue Northwest guy. If you missed any part or all or part of the show, just rewind wherever you're watching this. If you're watching the replay on amok.com or watching it on Twitter at Emil Amok. Yeah, we're still on Twitter, but go back and rewind to the beginning. youtube.com/Emil Amok1, and on Facebook, fb.com/Emil Guillermo.media is where we are on Facebook. Anyway, regular listeners to our show know where to find us. Regular listeners also know I like to meditate. So let me meditate. Meditation is good. It means I'm less angry. It means I'm less amok. But I like a simple meditation, a loving kindness meditation. I always fall into that because loving kindness, show it to others, it'll come back to you. And so as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Catch the replays. Listen to the PETA podcast, wherever you podcast. Emil Amok's Takeout, only available on these different things because I'm too lazy to put it on a podcast thing. But check it out. Till next time. Emil Guillermo here. Mahal